This is truly a lost season for Cam Ward and the Tennessee Titans. The only thing that matters for the rest of the year is how well can Cam Ward play in these conditions and can he get better moving forward. As I record this video, the Tennessee Titans are one of the worst teams in the NFL. They currently have a 1-6 record, and it's not all on Cam Ward. It's not on your interim head coach and Mike McCoy. Majority of the blame goes to Amy Adams Strunk, the owner with this organization. She has done a terrible job over the last few years with team management. Let's go back a few years here. You had John Robinson as your general manager. He did a lot of great things early on with the Tennessee Titans. Those last couple of years were very rocky. He's mostly known for trading A.J. Brown to the Philadelphia Eagles and selecting Treylon Burks in the first round. Treylon Burks was a bust with his organization. He couldn't stay healthy. When he was on the field, he couldn't catch the football. He couldn't separate. So they moved on from Treylon Burks. But there was a lot of reports coming out around this time that Mike Vrabel did not see eye to eye with John Robinson. And they would have a lot of heated discussions behind the scenes. Even after certain football games, they'll have a bunch of heated discussions. These rumors would be true. Amy would come out and she would fire John Robinson because she wanted a general manager that was willing to work with the head coach every step of the way. She wanted a general manager and the head coach to see eye to eye. And that was not going to be the case with Mike Vrabel and John Robinson. Now she brings in Ran Carthon. Now keep this in mind. Ran Carthon did not hire Mike Vrabel. This was not his guy to begin with. A lot of reports came out that she soured on Mike Vrabel, that Ran Carthon and Mike Vrabel did not see eye to eye. So she moves on from Mike Vrabel. This would be a terrible decision, in my opinion. Mike Vrabel did a lot of good things with the Tennessee Titans, and you can say that he has some bad offensive coordinators. Sure, he has some bad OCs, but at the same time, he got the most out of this organization. They went to the AFC Championship game with Ryan Tannehill at the starting quarterback position. Granted, with Derrick Henry, one of the best players in this league, and he still is, and with A.J. Brown at the wide receiving position. But you had a lot of structure with this organization. And that last year with Mike Vrabel, Ryan Tannehill went down with an ankle injury. They put in Malik Willis to finish out that game overseas. Malik Willis came in. He did not look good. Then they went with Will Levis, who they selected in the second round. Many scouts were saying that he could possibly be a first-round pick, but he slid into the second round. Will Levis had a lot of good moments with the Tennessee Titans in his first year with Mike Vrabel because it was more structured with his organization. The offensive line was still a massive problem. Will Levis did have a turnover issue at that point in time, but it wasn't as major as year number 2. But there was something that you could work with here. But she'll move on from Mike Vrabel. Ran Carthon is still here. They'll bring in Brian Callahan. Now, Brian Callahan, terrible head coach. You guys know how I feel about Brian Callahan, but this was a bad hire from the start. You guys can go back and listen to the video when I first said that they're bringing in a head coach who never called offensive plays for the Cincinnati Bengals, but yet he's well enough equipped to come out and to become a head coach in this league. And we've had a bunch of coaches, they never called offensive plays. They come over, they're head coaches in the NFL. Some guys work out, some guys don't. That was the case here. Will Levis regressed in year 2 of his career. In year 1 with Brian Callahan calling plays, he was a huge turnover machine. The offensive line was abysmal and the talent just wasn't good enough on the outside. He hurt his shoulder. They put Mason Rudolph in for a couple of games. Now here's the kicker with Mason Rudolph. Mason Rudolph is a backup quarterback at best, but he looked so terrible with the Tennessee Titans. We never saw him perform that bad with the Steelers and Coach Tomlin. He had terrible moments with that organization, but it was consistent bad moments over and over again with the Tennessee Titans. And the play calls are just terrible with Coach Callahan. You fire Ran Carthon after 2 years. Now you bring in Mike, your brand new general manager, who is now in his first season. Let's pause here for a second. You end up with the first overall pick because you were easily the worst team in the NFL last season. I want you guys to let me know in the comment section below. Wouldn't it make sense? You bring in a brand new general manager. You let him bring in his head coach. And now you let that head coach go out there and talk with the new general manager about the first overall pick. Now you have your guy in Cam Ward. First year head coach, he gets to grow with this rookie quarterback. He gets to bring in his staff. You have a bad record in year one. It's okay. It's a rookie season. But now we look at it from this situation. You fired Brian Callahan 5 days ago. This is the coach that Cam Ward got to work with all summer, this entire offseason, rookie training camp and all, to learn his playbook, to learn his way of coaching. And now you break that when you should have never brought him back from last season in the first place. And now you have Mike McCoy, who is a senior offensive consultant with this organization. He's a former head coach in this league with the then San Diego Chargers, now Los Angeles Chargers. But those last couple of years with Mike McCoy were not kind to him. We all know what Mike McCoy is. He's a placeholder. He's an interim head coach for a reason. He will not be the answer with this organization. But you're breaking everything that this kid has learned from this offseason immediately. And when you look at Cam Ward and his story, it's pretty impressive. 0-star recruit coming out of high school. It wasn't his fault. Wing T offense. If you know anything about high school football, quarterbacks, they hate a wing T offense because you're not going to get the pass of football around as much. You may only get 10 pass attempts a game, and I'm being serious here. So he works his butt off. He goes to Incarnate Ward, becomes a very good starting quarterback. He uplifts that program. Transfers over to Miami. He brings them back to light. Was a very good quarterback at Miami. It's the reason why he was selected with the first overall pick. But at Miami, shotgun system, up tempo, get the football out quick, throw across the middle of the field. You have those weapons on the outside. You work off a play action. Cam Ward had a bunch of great moments. Now he did have a very good offensive line at the college level. Coach Callahan doesn't coach that way. We saw that in his first year with Will Levis. He really did not even have a scheme with this team. He just called plays. That's what happens when you bring in an inexperienced head coach who has never called plays at this level. So now you're trusting Cam Ward and his development with Callahan. So you finally go out there and you do the right thing. You fire Coach Callahan, even though now it's too late. And now you have Mike McCoy being the interim head coach and yet another voice in Cam Ward's ear. And to put the cherry on top, Brian Callahan stopped calling offensive plays a couple of weeks ago because he felt like they needed a different energy on the offensive end. That is when you know you're in for it. As a head coach, when you have to give up play calling duties, that's when you know your job is really on the line here. And I say all that to make the excuses for Cam Ward. I'm not blaming him for the shortcomings with his organization. It is on Amy Adams Strunk. But you can control what you can control. Cam Ward hasn't been good this season, guys. I'm just being honest here. He's had good moments. He'll have a couple of good drives here and there in the matchup, and that's it. He's had a turnover in every single game this season. And I'm not joking. Either an interception or a fumble or both. He needs to do a better job of taking care of the football. Now, in 7 games this season, he's been sacked 30 times. He's on pace to break the sack record in the NFL if they keep this up. And it's not all on Cam Ward. He gets the football out quick. He tries to lead wide receivers. The best game that he's played, in my opinion, was week 1 against the Denver Broncos. They had that matchup won. Terrible coaching by Coach Callahan. The situational awareness was not there. But they lost this game 20-12. If you look at the box score, you may say, man, Cam Ward was terrible. He was 12 of 28 for only 112 passing yards. But that's more. There's more to meet the eye here. There's more things to just going out there and watching the box score here. He had 4 drops late in the fourth quarter from Calvin Ridley, from Alec A.O. Manor, Chika Kongwo, Tony Pollard coming out of the backfield. He led wide receivers over and over again up the field, and yet they let him down. And he was taking a bunch of sacks in this matchup because he did not want to throw interceptions. He didn't want to fumble the football until late in the game. It was a terrible outing for the Denver Broncos. But most of that was on the coaching staff. Even though Cam Ward had some bad moments, but overall, a solid game on the day. Now against the Los Angeles Rams, this was a bad matchup all around. He did have the one crazy play. He goes out to the right, he scrambles across his body. He throws the football in the back of the red zone for a touchdown. Those are golden moments for Cam Ward. Against the Indianapolis Colts, completely terrible game. Against the Houston Texans, shutout, 26-0. He was 10-26, 108 passing yards, 1 interception. Arizona Cardinals, they won this matchup, but this was a wacky football game. You had so many situations in this matchup that were just unbelievable, but they happened. Cam Ward throws an interception. The defender The ball pops out on his way down. Here comes Tyler Lockett. He falls on the football in the back of the red zone. And you won with a game-winning field goal. That's how crazy that game was. It was a circus game. It was wacky. But you could say if it wasn't for those quote-unquote lucky moments, this team would be winless on the season. You got dominated by the Las Vegas Raiders last week. Cam Ward did not look good. And today against the New England Patriots, he made some plays early on in the first quarter. But second and third and fourth quarter, he just didn't look good enough. He needs to do a better job of taking care of the football. He has 4 passing touchdowns to 5 interceptions. He has more turnovers on the season than touchdowns. That's inexcusable for a guy that you selected with the first overall pick. And once again, it's not all on Cam Ward. The offensive line has been abysmal. The wide receivers aren't good enough, in my opinion. But can he build off of this? That's the one thing that I am concerned about. If he can't build off this and he can't learn from his mistakes, you may be dealing with a bust with the first overall pick. And I'm not calling Cam Ward a bust just yet, but it's not looking good. You look at what Jackson Dart is doing right now with the New York Giants. You've seen what other quarterbacks have done in year one. And you're still waiting for him to go out there and have those big time moments. We've just seen drives from Cam Ward. He needs to drive that for an entire game. And it's been very inconsistent. The first 4 games played very well in my opinion. The last couple of games, he hasn't played well at all. He had a dumb fumble in today's matchup by the Patriots. He's backpedaling inside the pocket. The ball just falls out. We saw that against the Houston Texans, just dumb moments over and over again. The pocket awareness isn't there. And I have been disappointed by this offensive line. The one bright side of hiring Coach Callahan, Bill Callahan, his dad, he got to work with these offensive linemen. He's one of the best offensive line coaches in NFL history. He just couldn't work with this offensive line. And you spend a first-round pick on Peter Skoronski, who is a very good player in the interior. You have J.C. Latham at the right tackle position. There's a lot of upside with him in general. You spend a first-round pick on him. Cushenberry, you brought him in free agency a couple of years ago. That last year with the Denver Broncos was special. 900 snaps played, only 1 sack allowed. But last year he tore his Achilles. He hasn't been good this season. Kevin Zeitler, he's an aging veteran at the right guard position. And Dan Moore Jr., this is a terrible signing. I don't care what anyone says. He allowed 12 sacks last season. And you'll have a bunch of people come out and say, well, he had 12 sacks allowed because Justin Fields holds onto the football for a very long time. The same with Russell Wilson. Like this man wasn't getting blown past every single year with the Steelers. They were happy to let him go. They were happy that he was off this roster. And now you bring him over to the Tennessee Titans. He hasn't been good this season. And you may say, what were they supposed to do? Draft your tackle. Get your guy in the second or third round and build around him. Teams have done that before. You build through the NFL draft. You don't just waste cap space on a tackle that gave up double-digit sacks the year before. And that's what this general manager has done. Another player that deserves a lot of blame, Calvin Ridley. Where the hell has he been? He missed today's game with an injury. I'm never going to knock a player for being injured. You just can't help injuries here. But the effort hasn't been there. Calvin Ridley is paid to be this number 1 wide receiver. He looks more so like a number 3. And when he has been open, he drops the football. And I'm looking at it from this situation right here. Trade Calvin Ridley. Get him off this roster. There's a lot of reports that the Tennessee Titans, they're willing to trade players beside Jeffrey Simmons, and the same with Cam Ward. Obviously, you're not going to trade your quarterback who you selected with the first overall pick. But get Calvin Ridley the hell off this roster. Trade him elsewhere. See if the Steelers want him. See if another team out there like the Buffalo Bills, see if they'll bring him in. But get him off this roster and let those young guys develop and let them play. Chime Dike, Elike Omanor, Chika Congo at the tight end position. They're not great talent, but they can work with Cam Ward and you let those guys grow together. You look at someone like Tyler Lockett. Tyler Lockett is a washed-up wide receiver, unfortunately. He wasn't that key veteran that was going to come in and help make plays deep down the field. It's the reason why Seattle released him. He's going to go down as an all-time great in Seattle, but those last couple of years have been rough for Tyler Lockett. It's time to retire. You have Tony Pollard at the running back position. You could possibly trade him. Tajay Spears, he's a solid player. But this is a bad offense around Cam Ward, and this is a rookie that can't take care of the football right now. I really hope that Cam Ward is not a bust. But I will say this, the same problems that he has ran into are the same problems that Will Levis ran into last season. Just saying here. And it's not me trying to take up for Will Levis. Will Levis had a bunch of bonehead plays over and over again, but the same things are happening to Cam Ward. You hope that he can grow from this. If I'm Tennessee, I'm looking at certain coaches across the league. Maybe you bring in someone like Brian Flores, defensive head coach with the Minnesota Vikings. Maybe he brings over Coach McDaniel to be his offensive coordinator. Maybe you go out there, you bring in Jesse Minter with the Los Angeles Chargers. He's the defensive coordinator. Or Jeff Hafley with the Green Bay Packers. You want an offensive-minded coach? You have some offensive-minded coaches to go out there and get. Maybe you bring in Mike McCarthy. Was successful with the Dallas Cowboys in season, and the same with the Green Bay Packers. He did a lot of great work with Dak Prescott, and the same with Aaron Rodgers. Maybe you make a call to him. But we all know that Mike McCoy's not going to be the guy. And defensively speaking here, L'Jarius Sneed, get him off this roster. He's terrible. You trade the draft pick to bring him in. This was Rand Carthon. Trade the draft pick to bring him in. On the surface, this was a good trade. He was one of the best cornerbacks in the NFL at that point in time with Kansas City. He's been terrible with Tennessee and dealt with injuries last season. He's been giving up deep bomb after deep bomb this season. He gave up a 55-yard reception in today's game that went for a touchdown against the Patriots. And that's against the former head coach with this organization. You have some key names on defense like T'Vondre Sweat and the same with Jeffrey Simmons. Outside of that, you have a bunch of players that don't belong in this roster. You had Jarvis Brownlee. He's no longer here. You traded him for nothing, in my opinion. Roger McCreary, he's had good moments, and the same with Amani Hooker. But your defense, they need help as well. But overall, all this falls down on Amy Adams Strunk, the owner with this organization. But let me know in the comment section below, do you believe that Cam Ward can turn things around with the Tennessee Titans over time? And I look at it from this standpoint. Trevor Lawrence in year one, they fired Urban Meyer halfway point in the season. He is still having struggles in the NFL today. Bryce Young, they fired Frank Reich halfway towards the season in his first year. He's still having struggles till this day. Jared Goff and Jeff Fisher, that was just a terrible situation with Jared Goff, but he was able to bounce back. You hope that Cam Ward can follow the Jared Goff route instead of Bryce Young and Trevor Lawrence's route. Even though Trevor Lawrence did win a playoff game in year one with Doug Peterson, year two of his career. But if you're new to the channel, hit the subscribe button. If you like the video, hit the like button. Most importantly, we want each and every last one of you guys stay safe, stay positive. Thanks for the video, guys. God bless. Peace.